Hi, it is Tuesday the 9th of June, and I thought I would just say a few words because I haven't said a few words in this space for maybe a couple of weeks. I think as the whole situation around me, where I live right here, and also in the world, has kind of like shifted and changed recently. I found myself not really knowing what to say or how to feel, and so I kind of sat back and listened and observed instead of participated, because it didn't feel right. And so, yeah, so I kind of find myself in this space right now, not really knowing what to say, how to react or respond, and how to feel really about the situation, and also about myself and about my part in the whole thing. My part in the world as a jigsaw piece in a big puzzle. And yeah, I found this year really confrontational. Up until this year, and maybe it's because I've naively kept myself really sheltered for the last 10 years from the media, from the news. And so perhaps this year is really provoking me because I've been forced to participate, and maybe if I'd been participating more previously, I would have felt the same thing too, and maybe I would be in a different state. Well, I would definitely be in a different state of mind right now, but so perhaps I would be more in acceptance of what is going on in the world. I would be more used to it as well, and I would kind of be thinking, oh no, this is all usual, this is going on the whole time, and I wouldn't be feeling so reactive. I'm not sure. I just feel like this year everything has changed completely. The landscape has changed completely, and it's not okay to be a bystander anymore. It's not okay to step back and say, I don't want to participate in this game that's playing out in the world. I don't want to be a part of consumer culture. I don't want to be part of the 9 to 5 grind. I don't want to have a political opinion, get sucked into all of the debates. I don't want to be for or against any belief system, religion, medical doctrine or anything. It's like it feels like it's not okay anymore not to have an opinion, and yet at the same time I'm struggling to figure out how one has an opinion in a way that is useful and in a way that doesn't hurt or harm another individual, because part of the reason that I stepped back was because I wanted to be peaceful, and I wanted to live a more spiritual life. I wanted to live a life that was more in service to other people as opposed to just in service to myself. And now I am trying to figure out how best to do that moving forwards when the world has changed, and when it is not the world that I grew up in, or the world that I thought I grew up in. And so it's almost like being a child and having to start from the ground up and learn it all over again. And it's been a big year, and it's been a year of a lot of growth and a lot of change and challenge. And I have moved through many mindsets already in a very short space of time, and I find that like daily my thoughts and my feelings and my opinions are changing, and it's confusing because it's really hard to know what's going on out there and what is true and what is false. Like the reason why I stepped away from the media previously was because I didn't believe in it anymore. I didn't believe that it was telling me the truth, that it was presenting me with the right picture, the true picture, the accurate picture. It was just trying to like stir up my emotions and get me to respond and react. And I didn't like that manipulation of myself. It felt like a violation, an invasion, and I was like, no, I don't want that. I want to choose what I want to listen to and what information I put into my mind. I want to choose what I plant within my inner garden. And now it's hard, and that belief within me is being really challenged. Like, I can't not watch the news and not know what's going on in the world, because if I do, then I cannot protect myself. I cannot stand up for the rights of the individual. I cannot fight for a better future. I cannot work to protect and preserve the planet. I cannot free those who are imprisoned and enchained by other people's belief systems and by society's rules and regulations. I cannot do anything, any good there, if I don't participate, and if I only pursue the things that I feel are in alignment with my journey. Like, I can't just study the things that interest me and grow myself on, in terms of like spirituality and healing and health and relationships and the planet and the environment and nature and all of that. I can't just spend my time in those areas. I need to also be in the muddy dark pool as well, and to be honest, I don't know how to show up right now. I don't know how to do that. I'm kind of waiting and watching and listening and hoping that a teacher will step forwards and lead me and guide me and give me a starting point, at least somewhere from where I can spring. And although I still wish to pursue the direction that I am working towards, which is like to always be educating myself more about psychology and spirituality and health and healing, there are these other things that now need to come in as well and to be made equally as important, because otherwise the world will continue in the way that it is, and although I don't see myself as powerful, so my decision to or not be involved is not on its own going to make very much difference, but I think it's important because every single one of us needs to make that decision, because together we count. And so no matter how kind of like small and insignificant we feel like our opinion and our voice is, it is important and it matters, and I'm just trying to figure out how I fit in there, while also trying to navigate through all of the emotions and thoughts and feelings that are being provoked by the news these days, by the awful things that are happening, by the things that people are experiencing, by the name calling and the abuse and the aggression and the just people acting out in ways that just aren't acceptable. And the light that is being shone there really, really brightly now, and the things that we are realizing, the things that we are seeing for the first time, that things are different to what we were told and what we thought, that the media has painted an inaccurate picture, and now we are seeing the truth of that picture, and the kind of like the veil has been lifted, and it's devastating. And just it's kind of, there are no words really to quite try and explain what is happening, it's impossible to put it into words really, apart from the fact that it's a little bit overwhelming and a lot shocking. And yeah, as I've been saying right since the start of these videos, that like this year has just blown my mind apart with the things that are going on in the world and the things that I have learned. And the world is not the world that I thought it was at all. And I am really trying to figure out how to live within that world, how to want to be in that world, instead of just checking straight out. It is uncomfortable, deeply uncomfortable. My kind of vision of the future is very different now to what it was before. I don't think that future is a reality anymore. I don't think it's possible anymore, and who knows what will be possible in the future. Who knows what's coming around the corner in the next month. It's like, just when we think that the year has given us enough to be dealing with, then another thing happens, and it's like, whoa, and the picture has shifted, the narrative has shifted massively in another direction, and it's a huge direction, and yet we're left hanging from the first space. So we're like, do we really know what's going on anymore with this virus and this pandemic? And are we supposed to be quarantining still or not? Are we supposed to be cautious still or not? It's very, very confusing, because everything has gone quiet, and yet in this silence the world is still opening up and opening up and opening up, and going back to normal slowly but surely, or a new kind of normal slowly but surely. And there is this big question mark hanging over the whole thing, which is this safe? Is this wise? Can we trust what we are being told? Is it okay to be together in groups? Is it okay to go to these communal spaces? Is it okay to trust that we are safe? And nobody is really telling us that anymore. Everything has gone a bit silent, and that the narrative has shifted in another direction, and this direction is a really relevant direction, and it's a direction that needs attention and focus and voice, because the work needs to be done there. Things need to change. It is a wound that needs to heal, and it is a wound that is going to take a lot of talking, a lot of examination, a lot of time to heal, because it is so deep and it has gone on for so many generations. And yeah, it's been this huge cover up, I guess, of stuff that's been going on that most of us have only been vaguely aware of, and now it's all coming out. The truth is coming out, and we're realizing that we are all culpable, that we have all been fed this fictional story about the way that things are, and it is not the way that things are, or it's not the way that things have been for a very long time. And yeah, the world is not as balanced and equal and fair as we all thought, and we didn't even think it was that balanced or equal or fair anyway, but we're now finding out that actually it's worse than we thought, and we're a lot further behind than we thought. And have we really made any progress at all? And I think that the whole situation of the pandemic, and of all of us being tarred with the same brush, and all of us being subject to prejudice, like, do you or don't you wear a mask? And there is prejudice against those who wear a mask, and there is prejudice against those who don't wear a mask. Then there is prejudice against people who are vulnerable, who are ill, who are more likely to catch the virus, to spread the virus. There is prejudice against people who look sick, who sound sick. Prejudice against people who might might have an instant cough or hay fever or something, and so it's kind of created this huge segregation within society as a whole that has highlighted, I think, a lot of things. So we have all felt what it feels like within this 3-month period. I think we have all felt, to a lesser or a greater degree, an amount of judgment from other people about how we are and how we choose to react, and so we've had this tiny little window into what it feels like to be discriminated against, and I think that's why now, like with the situation in America, and with the whole thing about black voices and black rights and black lives, I think it's made it that much more like we can feel it more, we can relate to it more, we are more deeply struck by it, because in a way we have all experienced the tiniest little window into what it must be like to be discriminated against. And I think a lot of us have experienced discrimination in our lives about various things, whether that is the way we speak, the way we look, the way we dress, where we are from, who we hang out with, what we do, what our health is like, where we live in the world. If you live in a country that isn't your own country, then likely you have experienced discrimination to a certain degree. And so I think we all know, some of us more than others, what it feels like to not be welcomed, to not be greeted with open arms, to not feel like you are loved or welcome, and then to try and think about that on a greater, grander scale, and how it must feel to have grown up with that, to have been raised by people that grew up with that, to have that within your family for generation upon generation upon generation, and to have kind of waded through that your whole life, and to have had to live a different life and have different rules and regulations within the way you conduct yourself to your peers. To be scared when you're out driving in a car about being pulled over, what might happen to you, depending on the person that pulls you over, depending on what you choose to say, and all things like that. I mean, that it's a different world, and it's a different way of treating people to what those of us who haven't experienced that are used to and have any awareness of. And so, yeah, I'm probably just talking myself around in circles, and probably talking myself into a big hole, and possibly saying things that are, I don't know, wrong. I'm holding my hands up and saying, I openly admit that this is something that I don't really have much direct experience with, something that I have been very sheltered from, something that the other people have not spoken to me about. So I've never kind of had that conversation with any of my friends, and although I've experienced the discomfort and the anger and annoyance in myself when I hear other people being incorrect in the way that they talk about other people, whether it is they're being racist or they're being discriminatory, prejudiced about other people. Like I have experienced a rising within myself when other people speak like that, and then I need to then temper my reaction to one that is appropriate. But I think now it has kind of like it woken, the situation right now has woken us all up to a greater degree, and perhaps presented us with the invitation that that instead of trying to be a normal, polite, civilized person within society, and so to not speak up within a conversation when someone speaks out of turn. I think that now, within the current climate and because of everything that has come to pass, I think now actually that we are being called to speak, to say no, that's not right, and to actually fight for those other people, those nameless faces of our brothers and sisters who we don't necessarily know personally, physically on the earth plane, but who are our brothers and sisters and cousins and family nevertheless, instead of just kind of shrugging it off and thinking, okay, I don't really gel with that person that speaks in that way, and perhaps we won't meet again, or if we do, we're going to avoid certain conversations because they offend me. So yeah, I think we all have an invitation now, and it's not a voluntary invitation. It is a show up. You know, like when you get summoned to court, it's more of a summons. It's like show up, speak up, stand up for you know your brothers and sisters and friends on this earth planet. You know, we have to speak for all of those who are unable to speak for themselves, and we have to speak more loudly and more forcibly than perhaps we are comfortable doing. So yeah, it's a different time, it's a challenging time, it's a time that is awakening a lot of people and stirring up a lot of emotions, and I hope that we can walk the path towards a different, better earth, an earth where we care more about the planet, an earth where we care more about its inhabitants, an earth where the world is not controlled by money and greed, but is that is led by love and compassion and kindness and a desire to grow in positive and useful ways. And I hope that the whole kind of pandemic issue and now the black rights issue, I hope that both of these things will really steer us in a better direction. And I hope that they are the only two things that we need. I hope that more is not coming, although I fear that it is. I kind of have a feeling that this year is going to continue to stir us and churn us, and ignite us. And yeah, just be a year in the birth canal, basically. That's what it feels like. It feels like, no, we're still in it. We're still going through this birthing process, and we're not out the other end yet. And so I think it's important to stay positive, to stay strong, to stay grounded, to commit to doing our own personal work, to growing and evolving and becoming better people, at the same time as fighting for our rights as individuals and the rights of all other individuals, especially those who need our help. So that is my message for today. and I sincerely hope that it has expressed what I'm feeling right now in a way that doesn't hurt, offend or harm. And if it hasn't done that, if it has hurt, offended or harmed, I do sincerely apologise. I just felt like I had to say something even though I didn't know what to say. And so if I said the wrong thing, then I didn't mean to, and I am trying to open my eyes and to learn and to figure out what this new world is going to be like, along with the rest of you and as hard as the rest of you. So yeah.